Welcome to the importance and power of reading. I'm Michelle, the computer lady, your host. During some awful dark times in America, Black people were denied the ability to read, to learn how to read, to write, or to even own books. And that has hampered our communities up until this day. Now we're going to have important conversations about the importance and power of reading. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Importance and Power of Reading. I'm Michelle, the computer lady, your host. Today we have a dynamic, awesome, wonderful PhD, Dr. Adams. She's amazing. She's a mother of two. And not only is she a doctor, she's also an author. Dr. Adams, welcome and thank you for joining me today for the Importance and Power of Reading. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. Honored to be here.
All right, Dr. Adams, let's talk about, or would you tell the folks who you are, where you live, and how you became to be this awesome doctor?
That's great. Yeah. So, hi, everybody. I am, first of all, a mother of two wonderful boys. I didn't start off my life that way. So, I'm originally from Southern California, where I grew up. I have a younger sister, I'm a daughter, and I do many things. I'm really driven by a mission to reduce the rate at which doctoral students are not finishing their graduate degree programs. And this is a huge problem. People are starting their degree. Over half folks start their degrees and don't finish them as it relates to their master's or PhD. And so I'm really committed to that, and I want to see change in this area.
That is absolutely awesome. Now, for our younger readers, because you're a PhD, can you explain what that is?
Yes, a PhD is a doctorate of philosophy, and you can receive a doctorate of philosophy in the humanities, so disciplines such as English or the arts, or you could receive a degree like that in a particular discipline like linguistics, which is the science of language. That's what I have my PhD in, and other fields like sociology or ethnic studies or something like this. Psychology, for example, is a popular one.
That is amazing. So for my younger audience, not only can you be a medical doctor, but you can be a PhD doctor. And these are some of the things that we can subscribe to in order to advance our life. Now, can you tell us more about you as far as you being an author? Because I'm always excited to meet other authors. And can you tell us about the book that you've written?
Absolutely. So the book I've written is called Me Power. And what you can see here in the cover is that the letters M and E, the word, is made up of individual people. And I really wanted to call attention to this idea that even though we are individuals, other people influence, other people shape us to some degree. And then also we are always embedded in community. It's our superpower as people is to make connections with other people. And this idea of what I wrote about in the book is about how empowerment is not only from the outside, it starts inside. So this is the idea that me power is empower, and it's a redefinition of that word.
That is absolutely amazing. So this self-actualization is what you're giving to us as a gift through your writing.
Absolutely. And now everybody has it within them. You're not waiting. You don't have to wait around for change to happen. The change happens inside first, always. And even when you don't have confirmation, but if you believe it and you work towards it, it's fundamentally true. It's the truth. I think that we've overlooked many times.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. And I'm so glad that you can share this journey with us. Now, as a professor, are you actively teaching?
Right now, I am not actively teaching at a university. I have the credential to do so. I think there's a lot of politics and other things that come with that for my life right now, it just doesn't work out so well. But I think as an educator, I started my career as a high school teacher. I think as an educator who's worked at every level and research and whatnot, I think I bring that to everything that I do. And so I feel like in the coaching work that I do with graduate students, that's a form of teaching. In fact, because it's so individualized, it's based on connecting and really understanding where folks want to go and what they need to learn in order to get there.
That is absolutely awesome. And I am so glad you mentioned that, because as we get into and talking about the reading journey and you being a professional and especially a professor, how important is reading in what you do?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, there's no way I could even do the work that I do without it. There's just no way. It's like it was impossible. Even if I have a device reading it to me, it's still the printed what the ideas printed on the page, because that's all we're doing is we're reading, we're exchanging ideas. The author isn't there, but when we're looking at the text in print, it's really we're looking at their thoughts on the page, and then those thoughts we're thinking about, and so it's an exchange. And there's nothing more greater in the world to me than that kind of exchange.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So now you're talking about coaching young people and teaching young people. So let me ask you, when you were young, did you love reading?
Oh, it was my everything. I was an only child until I was about 13 years old, and I was raised during a time where kids were seen and not heard, and I had to keep myself preoccupied. So one of my favorite memories is waking up early in the morning, like 5 a.m., and drinking coffee with my great grandparents, and they were drinking their coffee, reading their paper, and I would do the same thing. My great grandmother, she would bake a fresh baked good every week, every few days actually, if it ran out. And so she made these amazing upside down pound cakes. Oh, so she baked, we waiting for it to come out of the oven, and you have it with your hot coffee. There's nothing greater, nothing greater in the world while you're reading your paper and just kind of being quiet and in that solitude of the day. It's beautiful. So I really fell in love with reading at at that age, at 4, when I first started.
That is amazing. So within that structure, who do you think is your major influence in reading? Who was the person that really spurred that love of reading with you?
I think it was my mom first, because she really emphasized that she knew I had a love for words and language, and she emphasized more than just reading for the sake of reading, but the comprehension of it. So she made it clear, like, when you read these books, I would read a book in a day. I would speed through. And she said, it's great that you're doing that, but what do you understand about what you're reading? And can you, more importantly, explain to somebody else? And I started learning I had to take notes, because it's hard if you read a 200-page book, you can't remember everything. How are you going to remember all the details? And so it really got me into this frame of mind of, if I'm going to consume knowledge and information, then I need to be able to share that with others. And how do you do that? That was a skill I started developing very early, and it was based on her influence, actually.
Well, let me ask you a question, because you talked about the word comprehension. And for the younger viewers that might not know that word, can you just explain it to them? Because I know what it is, but can you just deep dive that just a second, if you don't mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So comprehension is when if you see these words and they're in a sentence, you can understand what the meaning is behind that. And not only what the author might want it to mean, but what does it mean to you? And that is the part of comprehension we don't talk about enough. This is great, but it has to mean something to you. It has to.
And that's the crux of when we talk about reading. Comprehension is a big part of that, because in the world, how can you apply what you read or the knowledge that you gain if you don't comprehend it? So thank you so much for that explanation, because it's really, really crucial at this point that our kids know that they need to comprehend, not just read. So now, you said you started reading at the age of 4. What was your favorite book as a child?
Yeah, my favorite book as a child was The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. And that book, that was when I was younger, but it's a picture book. And I read it sometimes to the kids, but I'll read it over and over. Even to this day, I'll look and I'll read it by myself. I love this book so much because it's the story of the three little pigs, but from the wolf's perspective. So what he said is that he had a cold. So when he was going from house to house, he wasn't huffing and puffing and blowing people's house down. He had a cold, and nobody ever checked in with him to find out what had happened. See, that's what happened. And then he's a wolf. So he saw the pigs, and he was starting to get hungry. And because he wasn't feeling well, that really kind of messed with his mind. And he asks us, if you saw a cheeseburger and you eat meat and you saw a cheeseburger just sitting there, wouldn't you try to eat it too? It's kind of it's a fun book. It's a very fun book.
I love that. All right, we got to take a short break, and we're going to be right back with the amazing Dr. Adams as we explore the importance and power of reading. Stay tuned. Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle, the Computer Lady. I'm the host of The Importance and Power of Reading. You know what's going on in our society, book banning, and over 38 million children don't have books in their homes. Join me for some exciting segments as we talk about the importance and power of reading with my guest, author Kevin McLemore, on the PIC TV network, Channel 1000.
Since 1877, Jackson State University has been training students for a life of service and leadership to impact our global society. Ranked among the best HBCUs in the country, Jackson State University offers 47 undergraduate, 37 master's, 1 specialist, and 13 doctoral degree programs. Whether you're interested in the arts, education, public health, the sciences, or business, we're here to take you from ready to JSU ready. Visit jsums.edu and apply today.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the importance and power of reading. Now, we have an amazing guest, Dr. Adams. She's a PhD and an author. But before we bring her back up, I want to talk to everybody just a second about banned books. Don't worry about the banned books. Just read more books and read the books that are banned, and we'll be okay. Dr. Adams, thank you so much for joining us. You are amazing. Now, you talked about your favorite book as a child, The Real Story of the Three Little Pigs, but what's your favorite book as an adult, or what are you reading right now as an adult?
Yeah, a book I often come back to is called Success Runs in Our Race, and it has to do with the complete guide to networking in the Black community. And it's written by Dr. George C. Frazier, who has been acknowledged by President Obama, and he has a track record of building wealth and generating it in our community, giving it back. And he runs the Power Networking Conference, makes it open and free for young people, but they have to be shepherded by someone. And really in this book, the reason why I'm coming back to it often is because there aren't a lot of messages about how we as Black people have something inside of us that's unique to us, that nobody can take away, that we don't need to look for on the outside. We already got it on the inside, and it's what's going to make change in the world that's positive. And I love the book because of that. And he goes into so many examples historically, in history, and then for him personally, and then what that means for us as a collective, as a people. I got to meet him this past weekend, and reading his book and hearing him speak really has categorically positively changed my life.
Wow. Because Dr. Frazier's books also put me in line with Bell Hooks, because she always talks about being positive and actually healing ourselves as Black people. So great recommendation, great read. That is absolutely amazing. Now, while we're on it, because you're an author, tell everybody where they can get your book.
Yeah, absolutely. It's wherever books are sold. And you can also go on my website if you want to buy a signed copy right away, LaNysha.com, LANYSHA, and I'm sure we'll put it in the notes wherever this is available. And and you can also download a free chapter if you're still wanting to take a closer look at what is available to learn in Me Power, the text.
Well, now, as an educator and a professor, How has reading helped you in your career and in your life?
Absolutely. I mean, for research, the kind of research that I do, it's with people and with their ideas as they exchange them. And most of the time, other professors, other folks in the field are writing academic papers. So when we conduct research, we start with we start with other researchers, right? So who else has investigated the topic that you're interested in? And you go and read them because your idea might have already been explored by somebody. And then even if it is, maybe you want to look at it from a different perspective, a different angle, something that's personal to you. And that only you have, right? So it's important to know who has written about that, who has done it already, and then that's the foundation of any research that you do. You have to understand the topic, and then you read about that.
So reading is fundamental to everything that you do in your professional life. That is
Absolutely.
absolutely amazing. So for our kids out there and our parents out there, as you can see, reading takes the gamut and brings us everywhere, everywhere in our life. And that's why when we have amazing folks like Dr. Adams, it teaches us how to reach out and make sure that our kids are doing and we're modeling for our kids in that way. Now, you tell me that you have two sons and they're 4 and 2. So, do you read to them?
Absolutely. I think been encouraging my husband to read more with them at night, and so he probably reads more to them. Like we look at hours or minutes, but we read to them every day, and not just at night. Only at night. We read during the day. Like my son, both of them actually. If they see this book, they see Me Power. They say Mommy's book, and then the youngest one will start opening it and read. Trying to read it, and then they see me reading all the time, and so it's kind of cool because he knows, like in their room they have all their books in their little bookshelves, but then he also knows that there are other books that are big boy books or adult books, and he wants me to read from what I think are the boring adult books, but he sits there and he's just listening, like he understands and he knows what's happening. So I love that. I like reading from whatever. I mean, he sometimes brings me a magazine and says, "Mommy, can you read it?" And I'm like, "Wow, you really want me to tell you what's in there?" Because they understand that these words, they have information, and this is such a beautiful concept. It's like the greatest concept I think we've created as human beings.
I know so because I I know the power of words and it transcends me to places, which is one of the reasons that I love reading. Now, when we talk about boys and we talk about children in general, what do you think the state of reading literacy is among our children and adolescents? And if it's bad, how can we make it better?
Yeah, there's definitely room for improvement. I think that if we look at the work of people like Alvin Irby, who has this nonprofit organization called Barbershop Books, where they're putting books in the community and making literacy come to life where young people are in the community, and how we as Black people, and then I learned from him as a Black man. He says that's not the cool thing is to pick up a book or carry a book and be reading it. There's so much pushing for ball and entertainment and whatever, but when was the last time you saw somebody, just a group of us reading and going to the library or going to the bookstores and sharing, exchanging, and making that cool? And so I think there's a lot of work to be done in that area, but I feel like there are already kids already reading, and they are the cool ones. They are the cool crowd. So just the more that we can do that in pop culture and socially, I think the better it'll be overall. And Alvin is really leading the way with Barbershop Books on that.
I love that. And shout out to Alvin and Barbershop Books. Hopefully, you'll come on and grace us with your presence. Who knows? Now, we talked about boys and barbershops because normally when we talk about barbershops, we're talking about men and boys. So, how can we help our boys read better and more and earlier in life?
Yeah, I think that the main thing I'll say is from what I've observed, the more fun it is, the better it'll be for them. I could, as a as someone who's has an extreme love for language, I devoted my entire academic career, 10 years of study, to that. I can really be emphatic and kind of just shove it down my kids' throat, or try to shove it down their throat, and they would be turning away. And so I watch them. They have such a fascination with language, and then you take that fascination and then you make it fun. Just this morning, my 4-year-old, he has these alphabet cookies, and you can buy them at Target or wherever, and he likes to eat them, but he was more interested in taking the entire bag of what was left, which I let him, and he wanted to dig in that bag and find it and rearrange the alphabet in order. And he got so much joy out of picking each letter out. And then when he was done arranging all 26 letters, he started eating it and was asking, "Can I eat all?" And he was shoving it down. He's like, "Ah, I'm gonna eat you," And then he was talking about Cookie Monster. It was so fun. I was watching him like, wow, like that's so cool. And I think the more fun and cool it is for language, more than reading, but just the joys of language and interacting with it. And he came up to me, my 4-year-old came up to me and said, "Mommy, cats, C has a cat sound." I said, "Okay, great. What else?" And he said, "Oh, there's hat and there's this." And I said, "Oh, those are different sounds." And he says, "But it's the same, Mommy." And I was asking him, "What's the same?" And he's telling me, and he's understanding that, those root words, and like, what does that mean? And when you add a B, you're gonna spell bad. And then if you take that out, you just go through the alphabet. And how fun is it to be self-directed and to be joyous to explore language in that way?
Oh, that made my heart smile. That is amazing. All right, Dr. Adams, as you know, these interviews go fast. We got to take a time for a little commercial break, and we'll be right back with the importance
Absolutely.
and power of reading. Stay tuned. Hello, PIC TV network family. 1 out of every 4 women in the U.S. will have a diagnosis of breast cancer. What you can do about it? Get yourself exams because they can save your life. Breast Cancer Awareness Month is coming up real soon, but make breast cancer awareness every day. Watch the PIC TV network, both on Channel 1000 and on YouTube. Hi, folks. Welcome back to the Importance and Power of Reading. I have Dr. LaNysha Adams here today. LaNysha, excuse me. Pronounce it for me because I want to make sure that we get it right.
It's all right, LaNysha.
Dr. LaNysha Adams, PhD and author. She's given us some amazing information on reading, her journey of reading, and the things that she's done to make sure that her reading journey spreads to her children, and she's made it so much fun for them. Welcome back. Now, what guidance would you offer parents of both boys and girls to make sure that they spur the love of reading in their children and that their children are reading well?
The main thing I would say is to focus on keeping it fun. If you can find a way to really expand on your child's interest through reading, you may tap into something that they're hungry for. So my oldest son, he really likes language, and I know he likes all languages because if I give him a tablet, he'll go find Russian, and he'll find the Russian alphabet. Now I don't know how he did this, but he found the Russian alphabet, and he starts doing the Russian alphabet. I had a box from something from Russia, and that I bought online randomly, and he saw the script and said, "That's Russian," and I was like, "How does this kid know it's Russian?" I mean, like that's a skill. So I think it's interesting. My youngest son is totally different. He's into cars and trucks, and um he likes jokes. He likes saying funny things, and even though he's 2, he really is into jokes. And so there's this book that's kind of sarcastic. It's about going to bed and how you can't go to bed. It's about some pigeon book. I don't know. It's a whole series of this pigeon, and how he just keeps talking the whole time and blah blah blah. And I don't want to go to bed. I can't go to bed. And my son, he'll start laughing and like he thinks it's the funniest thing. And I'm fascinated by it. But I know when he's into like wanting to unpack something with the book, he'll grab that and go start reading it to himself. He also does it with things he's really interested in, like colors of cars and whatnot. And you'll see him saying blue, yellow, it'll be random. And I think the more that we can really help them tap into things that they love, we don't need to be involved on it. I think it's beautiful when people can self-direct their own learning. That is kind of what I'm all about. But it's nice to observe because there is no more power than that.
That is absolutely amazing. And so, folks out there that you're listening, find what they enjoy. That's what Dr. Adams said. Find their joy and help them read through their joy. You got one son that likes language. You got another son that likes cars and trains and those transportation kind of things. And so she's giving them books around what they enjoy. And that's really, really crucial, especially when we talk about boys, because I think boys, they have a hard time quieting their minds. And sometimes when we give them something that they really enjoy, it really brings out what they want to do and where they'd like to go. Because most men and even boys are problem solvers. And so whatever they read, it has to kind of solve a problem for them. Now, you know about STEM being a professor, of course, and a doctor. How can we help our children learn STEM and read better in this process of learning STEM? And when we talk about STEM, we're talking about science, technology, engineering, and math. And also we can add it, and a lot of people have added arts as well, so we call it STEAM. How can we incorporate a thirst of knowledge around these principles?
I think we start with the A. We start with STEAM. STEAM is just added in at the end. I think we start there because if everything is to make us come alive and to create life and to extend our life and to enhance it somehow, everything we create is to those efforts, even though there's a lot of interpretation about that. But if that's true, I think that's universally true. Then we start with the arts because it gives us life. It gives us joy. It gives us something that speaks to us here. And if we start there, then we can go to all of the other aspects of knowledge and ways of knowing that are up here. And I think personally, I think that's a very high level answer, but I feel like that's very true because it's how I'm able to have a good facility with math, even though that's not necessarily my thing. But I just remember when I was in grade school and I had this teacher, Janice Brewer, my third and fourth grade teacher. She would do this rap. I mean, she didn't rap, but she would have these tapes and she would bring it in, and it was we would listen to it during any exercise. She said, "Oh, you could listen to whatever," and all of us consensus we only wanted to listen to the multiplication raps. And it was all about how multiplication is going through it as an exercise, 2 times 2, 3 times 6, da-da. But then it was also about how it's repeated addition. So the rap would teach you that. And I had never thought about, multiplication like that before. And I got to do it in a fun way. And it was kind of like, and I found myself rapping if I had to do a test. I was like, wow, like I really learned through that like art aspect. And I think that if we can do that more, it'll make things come to life for people, and it'll make them happy about doing it, not drudging having to learn it.
I think you're absolutely correct. Now, I specialize in technology, which is why I use art and technology to write to kids. And so I think it's so important that our kids learn STEM, but in a very fun way. And that's why I love talking to you, Dr. Adams. This has been absolutely amazing when we talk about how kids learn and how they gravitate towards art, and how bringing art in and using music to spur this love of technology and science and math and engineering, and how that's so important. Also, as a mommy, you model for your kids because you read all the time. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm reading 2 books at all times, every week.
And that's amazing because I think when children see us reading, they model that because they're like, wow, If mommy's doing it, I want to do it too. Or if daddy's doing it, I want to do it too. And so, did you drag your husband into helping you with those kids and making sure that they read?
He don't like reading. But see, it's funny, like, we're talking about it, but I think it can go wrong when people try to force it. And then he picked a field where reading is mainly for information, but in a very stale kind of way. But it's important. It saves lives. He's a pharmacist. He's trained as a pharmacist, and he works for the Food and Drug Administration.
Wow.
So the reading and work that he does is so very important. But he doesn't read for fun. He reads only for information. And I think if he read for fun, I asked him just recently, what would you read it? And he likes politics. So he'd read about all the political drama that we see on TV, and he wants to know who is shouting at who and how are they fighting. He likes this drama stuff. He'd be trying to watch The Real Housewives. He likes this drama. So he would read about stuff like that, right?
Okay.
But yeah, so it's very different than someone who really gets their, I mean, I would spend all of my free time reading if I could. That's very different. And it's okay to have those differences. But with our children, he reads what they read and he really likes it. Like, he's really into greetings and ham and these pigeon books that my youngest son likes. He likes those pigeon books. I can't get into the pigeon ones, but yeah, he's into that. So he'll read it when I'm reading the true story of the Three Little Pigs. He's reading the pigeon books like when they're not around. Just like laugh.
I love it, because I think picture books are for us no matter what age we're at, because as long as it's giving us joy and the kids see us, they see that modeling and they get to sit in daddy's lap. It's like, hey, let's read this together. Sit in mommy's lap. Hey, let's read this together. I think it brings that joy that I find in my reading journey. Now, last question. As a parent, how can we make sure that our children read well? Not only just read, but read well.
Yeah, I think the best thing to reading well is repeated practice. I'm of the mindset that you have to read with frequency. And one of the major ways that I think you can incentivize people is by contest. The library every year, all year, has some. And that really gets you going, because you can win a prize or you can see your name on a leaderboard. Now, I was always motivated by that. Then I started doing on my own, keeping track of, like, every month I wanted to read 30 books when I was in middle school. And I have my journals from that time. I was crushing it. And then a teacher learned about it and would ask me about the book. So I think the frequency of reading really helps with the mastery of it. And then I also think being able to explain what you read to someone else is also very important, going back to comprehension. My mom was really onto something, and I recently asked her why she did that. And she said, as a young mom, she had me when she was a young person, a teenager, and she finished high school, but she said she wasn't really great at reading. And so she learned from me actually reading and telling her what I was reading about. So it was a nice hack for her to come to learn and understand that.
Oh, what a beautiful story. That's amazing. Dr. Adams, this time has flown by and I have enjoyed you thoroughly. Thank you so much for sharing with us today about the importance and power of reading. One more time before you leave, let folks know about the book that you've written and where they can get it, please.
Absolutely. You can get Me Power anywhere books are sold and on my website. Me Power looks like this, and at bookstores near you. And if you want a signed copy, just go to my website and you can buy it and I will ship it to you personally.
And we'll make sure that we put the links up so everybody can go get that book, because she's an amazing personality, an amazing person. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now, everyone, as you can see, as we do these deep dives on the importance and power of reading, make sure that you take the time to read with your child, to your child, and you model it. Pick up a book, smile, and read. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Michelle, the Computer Lady, and this ends our segment on the importance and power of reading. We'll see you next time. Are you a company, business, or service that believes in social responsibility? Would you like to make a positive impact? You can. You can sponsor this program and be seen by 2 million viewers on the PIC TV network. Call 770-367-1268 for more information today.